Welcome back to the Dad Chronicle, where we share stories from dads all around the world. I'm your host, Alex Albisu. This is episode 144. Today, I speak with a new dad and somebody very familiar to the community online. If you play World of Warcraft with me, it is Davis Glass, also known as, a lot of different names online. Nice Shield, a Small Frog, what else? Brizinger. He's got a whole bunch of different names, but in today's episode, we're just going to call him Davis. He's a new dad to little Junie, and we're going to learn a little bit about her. But first, we learn about his experience becoming a dad for the first time.
I was sitting in the little the bed next to the bassinet, and just I couldn't take my eyes off her. She was just so cute, so precious. It was awesome.
Next, we talk about the decision he made to become a stay-at-home dad.
If I'm paying to have money else watch my kid so that I can go to work, and that's most of what my paycheck goes towards, I would rather stay at home with the kid. Spend that time with her. You never get that time back. So, you want to spend as much time as you can while you can.
And finally, we talk about some major life events that caused tremendous strain on Davis and his family and how they persevered.
We start packing up the house. We've moved the big stuff in. We're halfway through on the first pod. We got 2 pods. And then I get a text message from my dad that says, can you come? Time appears to be short.
Here's my conversation with my friend, Davis Glass. Davis Glass, welcome to the Dad Chronicle. How we doing tonight?
Hey, Alex, doing pretty good.
Good. It's good to hear your voice. Great to have you on the show. A new dad, but you and I go way back. It's been, I think playing World of Warcraft for 10 years or so. And before we jump into, all that history, introduce yourself and a little bit of, your family life to the folks at home.
Sure. So I'm Davis. My family life is mostly my daughter at this point. My wife and I have a daughter named Juniper. I call her Junie, or Junebug for short. She is 23 months old at this point. She's almost 2 years old. I am a stay-at-home dad at this point, but I was for about 12 years a technician assistant for an eye doctor in retina specialty work, so back of the eye stuff. My wife is in the Navy, and so we move around a whole bunch, and that is a job that travels very well as being a technician. So I can find a job usually before you've got a house, but right now the job is stay-at-home dad, and it's pretty awesome.
And it's a pretty awesome calling to be a stay-at-home dad in itself. Junie is absolutely adorable. I get the random pics every once in a while, and it always brightens up my day. As we jump into a little bit of your life and some of the topics that we wanted to talk about, I wanted to also touch on the World of Warcraft thing. You and I started playing World of Warcraft. I think we were saying 2015. Is that right?
Yeah, 2015. I think it was Hellfire Citadel. For some reason, I remember being pulled in for a pug at Gorefiend, which is one of the bosses mid-raid for Hellfire Citadel.
Yeah. Great raid, by the way. A really fun raid.
Thanks.
And he's also a Rockstar tank. If you ever play World of Warcraft, and you look at the best tank in the world, there's a plaque, somewhere in Stormwind, I'm sure, or Orgrimmar, and it says Davis was here. He is the best paladin.
Nice shield, but yeah.
Nice shield. Yeah. The best paladin in the whole world. Don't let Bobby hear that. No, you do a lot of great work within the guild, and we've gotten to know each other pretty well just playing World of Warcraft, and it's been fun to watch you grow as a father as well, at least from my perspective. How long have you been playing World of Warcraft in general?
So I've been playing WoW since Burning Crusades, sort of mid Burning Crusades. I don't remember how long that was. It's part of the reason that I took a 5-year tour in college instead of a 4-year tour, because I played WoW a little too much.
You and many others.
Yeah. But it's been great. I really enjoyed playing WoW. It's kind of my game that I have a hard time giving up. I'll step away every once in a while at the end of a season or something, but I always come back.
Yeah, it's that game that I've come back to for the past 20 plus years. I mean, I was playing beta, and just here I am, full 20 plus years later, still coming back to the game. And one of the cool things about that game, and we've talked about it here on this show quite a bit, having other folks from the community and the guild that I help run, you meet a lot of really good friends playing World of Warcraft. And a lot of them happen to be dads. You've heard people like Justin Buckner, who's Airbuck in our guild, Don Miller, who's Diddy, and Bobby Frankenberger, who's Funk Doctor in our community. So I'm throwing out a lot of like strange screen names for those who may not be gamers listening, but that's one of the cool things that comes from gaming, is that you build a really fun community and some good friendships, and Davis is no exception. I had the honor of meeting Davis up in Seattle while you guys were living there. Is that where Junie was born?
Yeah, she was, well, not in Seattle, but in Washington. Yeah,
in Washington.
We lived on a little island called Whidbey Island. It's got a little naval base there, and yeah, Junie was born up there.
That's amazing. So talk to me about what it was like hearing the news that you were going to be a dad. What was it like being in that mode of your life? Like, what were you doing at that point in your life, and making that transition into fatherhood?
So with my wife being in the Navy, there are certain windows of opportunity that are best for her career to have a kid. They tell you that you can have a kid whenever you want, that it's not detrimental to your career, but it puts things on pause if you're doing the wrong kind of work for having a kid. So when we were in Whidbey, she finished a 3-year tour, then she got a second 3-year tour also in Whidbey, so we got back-to-back assignments there. And this one was called her shore tour. So she's not going out to sea. She's not going to be flying on a plane. And with that, she was able to have a kid because she doesn't have to fly. So we started trying, and we were very, very fortunate, or unfortunate if you wanted a little more practice, but we were very fortunate that Junie was conceived very quickly. Lauren had a dream about it and took a pregnancy test, and there she was.
Holy cow. So she had a dream. What was the dream?
Oh, just that she was pregnant. I don't remember what else happened in the dream. And it was really not great timing for us. We were just about to go to Disney with my in-laws and my wife's family. And so that meant, all the rides and the roller coasters.
Oh, gosh.
You can't do now. And you're also not supposed to tell people you're pregnant really early on, because that's it doesn't jinx it, but
right. But it's not, you don't want to put it out there. Right.
Yeah. Should the worst happen, it doesn't work out, should things change, whatever, you don't want to tell people early on, but we had to, because she's, a couple weeks pregnant, and we're, decline going on rides and drinking around the world and all this other stuff.
The things that you want to do and are expected to do as an adult in Disney. And exactly. I get it.
Yeah. So when day one, when we got to Disney, she did this little video announcement where she, we're standing in front of a ride, and we're like, yeah, let's take a picture all together. And it was a video, and she announced that she was pregnant, and her family was ecstatic. I mean, we were too. It was totally as planned. Everything's working perfectly. Just a little sooner than we thought it would happen.
Yeah. Well, hey, and here in, 8-9 months later, there you were holding your baby girl. What was that like, holding your daughter for the first time?
I mean, it was amazing. The hospital that she was born in was absolutely outstanding. They had all these amenities in the hospital, and it was very close to our home. It was just on the road. It was a little nerve-wracking when Junie, when Lauren was actually induced, but there was some trouble with the heartbeat, and we were really worried. And before I was born, my mom was pregnant once more, and the baby didn't make it because the umbilical cord wrapped around the neck, and it was not good. So that the only reason I'm here is because that happened, which is weird to think about. But anyway, so when the heartbeat started fluctuating, I was very worried, and they induced. She was due, like it was time based on the due date. But they induced, and when Junie finally came and we were there for the first night, and I was sitting in the little the bed next to the bassinet, and just I couldn't take my eyes off her. She was just so cute, so precious. It was awesome.
I've always gotten this sense of just your commitment and love for her, and it was just it's very apparent. I mean, obviously every parent loves their kids, but one of my favorite things about you is just how passionate you are about being a dad and loving your daughter. It's such a good testament to you, and I think the love that you're building as a family. And I think one of the things that you mentioned at the top of the show is that you are a stay-at-home dad. Talk to us about what it was like to make that decision to be a stay-at-home dad, what it was like for your family situation, and how you came about making that commitment.
So when my wife and I were talking about it, as a technician, I make fair money, but I don't make a lot of money. Um, Her job has set pay increases as she goes along. So when she gets ranked, she'll get a pay increase. When she spends more time in the military, she gets a pay increase. So we're able to sort of track where we're going to be financially with her job. And with my job, it would cover daycare just fine. But if I'm paying to have somebody else watch my kid so that I can go to work, and that's most of what my paycheck goes towards, I would rather stay at home with the kid, spend that time with her. You never get that time back. So, you want to spend as much time as you can while you can.
Yeah. How did you think about like when you were in that mode? Like, did you guys just sit down with like a budget sheet, or, I'm thinking about parents who might be in a similar situation. It might be helpful to talk through like what that thought process was, and maybe some of the ways that you would have, that helped to kind of reinforce what that decision was.
Yeah. So we looked at the daycare situations where we lived, and it was very expensive. It was even as expensive or more expensive than it is in San Diego. And, we priced that out per month, and we talked about like the timing that would have to go along with that. So, you have to wake up early enough to get the kid to daycare, drop the kid off, get off work in time to pick the kid up. My job does tend to go overtime a fair amount. It did. And so me being able to pick up a kid wasn't always necessarily reliable. And we just did a cost benefit analysis plus the feasibility of actually putting the kid in daycare.
And I think that's such a good, all of those things too. And one of the other things that you had talked about before was just, I mean, you don't get that time back at that age.
Right.
Like building that bond with your kid is so important. Kudos to you on being able to make that happen. I know that it's going to pay off in the long run, financially, sure. And on top of it, just the relationship that you're building with your daughter. Here she is almost 2 years old. What do your days typically comprise of?
So right now it's pretty loosey goosey. She's at the age where she's not reading yet. So I'm not having to sort of teach her a whole lot, like, sort of sit down and teach her. It's more just experiential teaching, and spending time together. We got a season pass to the zoo, which is 15 minutes away from here. And we go there at least once a week. There's a bus at the zoo that she loves to ride. And so we ride a little zoo bus. Today we woke up and had a fairly easy day. We made pancakes, and we had some blueberries, and then we headed to the pool. And it's a very, very relaxing time right now.
I love that. One of the things, first of all, that's, I love the fact that there's like a zoo 15 minutes away from your house.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's awesome.
Like the closest thing here in Northern Virginia, I mean, there's like a zoo, I don't know, like 20 minutes away. It's not great. But then there's the one in DC, but then you have to go into DC. Yeah, man, that's a good situation to have. Thinking about your situation as a stay-at-home dad, and talking to other men and people who may be in different financial situations or whatever the case may be, there's always this taboo or apprehension about being a stay-at-home dad. There's, there's this masculine necessity that society dictates to say, you got to be the breadwinner in all of these scenarios. I certainly feel that pressure. Not that anybody's putting it on me. It's just maybe what
Sure.
societal pressure is. And I'm always really inspired by men who kind of take on that and push. Well, I should say really like push away that societal norm and think about like what makes sense for life and for you and your family and what you enjoy doing. Did you encounter any sort of that like insecurity or anything like that about taking on the role of a stay-at-home dad?
So my role and my wife's role are a little weird. Usually, it's the male that's in the military. Usually, it's the female that's in the nursing sort of position, which is what I do. Most of my coworkers were women, and it's just and most of my wife's coworkers are men. So we're already sort of doing the role reversal before we had a kid, and I think that may have made it a little easier. There's definitely maybe an ego thing or a security thing about if I don't make money, then I can't spend the money, and then I don't have any sort of argument about what the money is spent on. Like I can absolutely see where you can feel insecure about not being the breadwinner, about not making the most money, about whatever. But it's not important, It's more important to spend time with your kid and
Yeah.
to have a happy wife and to make enough to be happy and not worry about the rest.
So true. I think that that's something that people miss a lot in that is what is life if not to be enjoyed? And you have to do what your heart tells you to do, no matter what, you know, society dictates or that predisposition. And also like societal norms are just like what some dude stood up and said, "Hey, this is going to be the way it is nowadays." Like
Yeah.
that's completely the way it started. So screw all that noise and be there for your kids. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And it's definitely something that my wife and I had to talk about. That like she when she finishes her time with the military, she would like to sort of switch roles and spend more time with Junie, and I go to work, and I'm fine with that. That's perfectly fine. At the time, it was a better financial decision for her to stay in and for me to stop working to take care of Junie.
Yeah.
But things may change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's really cool. And what I'm hearing is that teamwork, right? Like
Oh, absolutely.
that's the biggest thing about parenting is it is really a partnership and you have to show up in whatever capacity to do whatever you need to do. So absolutely. I want to shift gears a little bit, just thinking about your wife and her career within the military, and express our thanks for her service. I know that it is a very demanding job and a calling, and it requires a lot of, let's say, sacrifice in a lot of different ways, whether that be deployment, moving, working strange hours, whatever the case is, and whatever capacity that folks work in the armed services, there's always a bit of sacrifice that happens there. You recently went through a move, and I want to touch on this for a little bit because a lot of events happened. There was a lot that occurred, and this is one of the things that that kind of ignited a bit more of one of the major topics of our conversation. But one of the big things that occurred for your daughter specifically was moving at
Yeah.
such a young age, and how you guys tackled that as parents. Walk us through the scenario, kind of what happened to, I guess, incite the move, and then some of the things that we've talked about that have occurred during that move.
Yeah. So with the military, with Lauren's job specifically, your job role changes every 3, 4, 2 years, just depending on what's happening. And so it came time for us to move because that's what the Navy said Lauren needed to do. So what normally happens is they send a bunch of movers to your house. They pack up your house for you. They ship off your housing goods to wherever you're going. Usually it sits in storage for a while, and then the military assigns you a house, and that can take months for that to happen. So you can show up, start doing your job, have to live out at a hotel, and then eventually you get a house. Or you can find a house before you move down, and or once you move down, whatever, and then the military pays you for having a house. And if you use military housing, then they take the money they would pay you for having a house and they put that in their own pockets. And then you just have a house, which is what we opted for this time, was military housing. This time around, we got a little lucky in one way. We were told we had a house before we even moved down here, so it was a very fast transition for us. So we were pretty excited about that. When we decided on how to move down, we opted to move ourselves. So instead of having military movers come, pack our stuff up, and move it, we decided that we would use pods, which is just like they put a storage container in front of your house. You pack it up, they pick it up, and then take it down wherever. And then the military pays you for that. I think the military quoted like $14,000 or something to move us down. So if you do it yourself, then the military pays you that money, and whatever it costs, you take it out of that money.
Yeah.
So if it ends up costing more, then you just lose money. But if it ends up costing less, then you keep the money. So yeah, we did that, which was going to be a great thing for us. It's just a little extra pocket money. We don't have that much stuff. It's easy for us to move. So the pod showed up. That was late January. We start packing out the house. We've moved the big stuff in. We're halfway through on the first pod. We got 2 pods, and then I get a text message from my dad that says, "Can you come? Time appears to be short." That was because my mom, she had recurrent cancer, and she had cancer for like 3 years or so, but things started going downhill really fast. And in the middle of the move, we got this message that it's time to get there. He sent that at 12:45 on January 31st, and by 10:30, I was on a flight down to Alabama to see my mom.
Yeah, that's pretty devastating. And there's a lot to unpack with all that.
Yeah.
When you were on that plane, what was your wife and Junie's situation? Were they moving without you at that point?
Yeah. So the house was maybe halfway packed up, and they were trying to finish up everything else. And because it was just us, it just had to get done. And my wife's family was awesome enough to get my mother-in-law out there to help out. We had military friends that were in the area and friends that I had from work that came by and helped out. There was so much outreach to help pack up this house.
Amazing.
It was really amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bailed and went down to Alabama, and it was very weird for me because people thanked me for coming, for making it down there. They said that it's so awesome for me to leave and be able to make it here and all that. But I just felt so bad for my wife having to pack out the house by herself because it's so stressful. It's like, one of the most stressful things you can do. Next to losing a parent, and I'm having both of those happen at the same time, and it was rough.
Yeah. When you were down there, well, first of all, let's talk about your mom, and she had been dealing with cancer for a while. How quickly did things progress, and what was the timetable like as activities and other things were going on down there in Alabama?
So her timeline, I started in 2000. She had breast cancer, double mastectomy, radiation, chemotherapy. And then she was in recurrent, she was cleared of cancer for 20 plus years. And then, I think it was in 2021, 22, somewhere in there, where she was diagnosed with cancer again. She lost her voice, and then it was really scratchy, and that triggered her looking into it. And it was recurrent cancer. it was called metastatic, so it had gone throughout her body. It had shown up in her spinal cord, but again, she lasted for years, and she was of the opinion that whatever time she had left, she was going to enjoy. So she and my dad went all over the place. They went to Ireland. They went on river cruises. They went on this cruise to Disney, or a Disney cruise with the whole family. They did all sorts of things in the time my mom had left to spend just the most time they could together, doing as much as they could. Yeah. And because they knew it was the end, we didn't know how many Christmases we have left. And so every year they did whatever they could to enjoy themselves and spend time with each other.
And did you make it there in time to see her? You did?
Yeah. Okay. So I made it there in time to see her, but she was minimally responsive. My dad didn't think she was very responsive. I think he had a really hard time being in the room with her, as sick as she was. When I got there, she was just laying in bed, and she was mostly sleeping, mostly eyes closed. But she would wake up and want some water, and we would sit there. I would talk with her, and when I was growing up, we listened to a lot of Prairie Home Companion. I don't know if you're the radio show.
Oh, I don't know. No.
Prairie Home Companion. It's a great radio show. It's in the style of like old timey radio shows.
Oh, cool.
NPR runs it, or ran it. It was with Garrison Keillor. But anyway, I put on Prairie Home Companion with her and sat in bed with her. And but it was not. She was not very responsive. But I think she was there. I think she could hear. I think she could. She was responding somewhat. But it was definitely the end of the road. When I first got the message from Dad, I wasn't sure how serious he was, how much time I had. My first thought was, do I have time to move down? Because we've got like a 5-day trip planned with all these stops that we're going to make to get to San Diego, which is where we're living now. Do I have time to do that? And my dad was a pastor for many years, and he visited hospitals. He was the hospital pastor as well. So he would visit people on their deathbeds. And I figured that if Dad said it was time to go, it's time to go. So.
Yeah, that's probably a good indicator. Somebody like him who's been around death in his own way. And I can tell it sounds like there's a bit of instinct on your side too, that kicked in there to listen to that. And and it sounds like you made it in time, and that's exciting that you were able to spend some of those last moments with your mom. And when you think about the time that you did have with your mom and your dad, and you think about this moment that you're in now with your own daughter, what are some of the takeaways from the ways that you were raised that you're like, I'm wanting to be this sort of a dad for Junie?
That's a tough one. My parents really did a lot of things that were free because we were pretty poor growing up.
Sure.
So going to parks, doing hikes and camping trips, and it seems very naturey, but it's really because we were poor. But we did all sorts of things together, and I really think it's just a together time. Especially together time without a screen when and if you can. Just the two of you, or the three of you, or however big your family is, but spending that time just being with each other really matters.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, especially in today's age of screen time. And sometimes you just want to give your kid that screen because it's like, it's gonna just get them to just chill out for a second.
Yeah.
And I think there's a time and a place for that, but there's also the power of just being together and spending that time together. It's so true. You have to enjoy that. It was simpler, I think, when we were growing up too, where there wasn't as much opportunity for that distraction. But it puts it in perspective, right? And I think your mom was able to meet Junie.
Oh yeah. She was there. She was there the day after the birth. I think she was right around the birth. I have pictures of her in the hospital with Junie.
Good. Yeah. That's the sort of thing that you show Junie, as she gets older, and those memories stick, and it's so important to make sure that persists. She will know her grandma in one way or another, Yeah.
And I gotta say, my mom was an amazing woman. She actually was an eye technician as well. So she did the same sort of job I did. Yeah. And that's probably a big part of why I did it. It's just something that I was used to talking around the dinner table. She knew sign language. She would do like sign language translations for the church. She would like sign to the music. That came from when my sister was in high school and one of her friends was deaf, and mom learned and then taught sign language for that. And it was awesome that she did that. I also think it's kind of a way that she wanted to be more boisterous and expressive in church. And so she would sign, and that sort of gave her an out to be moving around a whole lot instead of just sort of standing there.
Yeah.
She was a really, really fun lady. She was amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And those are the sorts of things, man. You share that with your daughter as she gets older. She's going to be curious, and those are beautiful memories. And I appreciate you, sharing that here with us, and wishing you and your family all the peace and love throughout. I know this happened a little while back now, but it's you never really get over it. So
yeah, she passed away February 1st.
Yeah. And thinking about your wife and your daughter in this situation, what occurred as far as the move goes? Like, did both of them just drive straight down from Washington State down to like San Diego?
Yeah, so they had my wife really loves planning trips, so she had this whole trip planned out. Had like Airbnbs rented along the way, national parks to visit on the way, beaches to see, restaurants to eat at. She's big foodie. She loves going out to fancy restaurants or tasty restaurants or holes in the wall or whatever. So my mother-in-law came down and took my place on this date trip, which was perfect. I mean, they had a mother-daughter time with Junie, so it's like 3 generations of girls.
Yeah,
going down the coast. They had a blast. They had a very good time. It was very stressful getting out of the house, but once the house was closed out, they did great.
Good. And I always, whenever I hear your scenario, through everything that went on, first of all, the stresses of moving, the stresses of losing a family member, and the stresses of having a 2-year-old. Well, not even close to 2 at that point. She was like 1.5.
Yeah.
What sort of ways did you prep Junie for the move, to help, I guess, ease the unpredictable nature of moving with a child that young? How did you ease her into the whole thing?
I'm really not sure that there was much easing. I mean, at that point she was happy to be in the car for about 4 hours. Yeah. And we knew that because we'd gone on trips and things like there's a mountain park thing that's about 4 hours away, and we had done that trip and we knew that she could do that. And after the 4-hour mark, that's when she sort of loses it a bit. Yeah. So I think that helped shape the trip down of like where my wife found places to stop and stay.
That's a really good note for anybody listening to this show. And you might be on a road trip or whatever. Start understanding your kids' schedule. Like understand their tolerance for that. A lot of kids have 4 hours is impressive.
Right.
By the way, like my kids, it would be like a couple hours and they start to get fidgety and stuff like that. A couple hours at most. And they've gotten better over the years. And that's the other thing that I found is that doing road trips more often with your kids, there's a lot of pain, but it builds a lot of, it gets them ready for longer road trips. It builds character. That's the word I was looking for. it's really good for them, to be honest. And yeah, it might be a little painful, and it's good character building for you as a parent. so,
Yeah,
as you're listening to this, take that to heart.
Learn your kid for sure. And I found this out because the airport was about 2 hours away from our house, and I would drive friends to the airport all the time. So I'd make it to the airport, head back. Junie has had a nap, and then she wakes up, and then she's angry. And so I'm like pulling into the house, and she's getting angry, and that's the 4 hour mark. And so that's how you know.
Amazing. Well, you are now happy. Well, I don't know if you're happy in San Diego. We talked about this. Like, do you like San Diego so far, or what's your thoughts?
I do. I'm in a weird limbo. We know that Lauren's not going to be stationed here for very long, so we've got 2 years. So like, do you make friends that you're just going to see? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty happy by myself and Junie, and so far I've just kind of not really reached out very much. I've sort of got to know the next door neighbor, but she's moving like at the end of this year because she's in the military too. So I don't know that I want to make the effort to get to know people before I move in another. Now we're at like less than a year and a half.
Do you know where you're going to be moving next, or is that not decided yet?
No. So again, it's the military is weird. We know the sort of job Lauren's going to have, and she can make a wish list of what she wants. And at the top of the list is to go right back where we were in Washington. But
okay.
For that to happen, she has to change the airplane that she flies on, and it's actually to be a drone instead. So she's not flying anymore. All this other stuff. So it would be weird. But it's just the way the military works.
Yeah. Well, that's quite a move back up. So maybe you get to experience the drive from San Diego all the way up to Washington.
That would be nice. So when I got back to Washington, so I flew down on the 31st, flew back on the 10th, crashed on my friend's couch. She drove me to the U-Haul that was waiting for me because we didn't fit all the stuff in the pods. And then I drove the U-Haul down.
Oh, wow.
In 2 days instead of the 5 days that my wife had. And it was by myself, no cruise control in this U-Haul. It was, honestly, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't the worst road trip I've ever had. That's for sure. But
it's just lonely. I don't know. That's a long trip.
It is.
So how many hours total in the car?
I would have to look at it again. It was, I think it's like 27 or something. I drove far and fast. Like I just kind of stayed on the road all day. Lauren was very impressed that it took me as little time as it did. That's
incredible. Well, you had just been through a tremendous amount in those couple of years, having finding out to be a dad, to losing your mom and needing to move and all of those things. These are all major life events that come at you. And I think that one of the things that I applaud you for is the tenacity and the dedication to be able to withstand all of these terrible storms in your path. And you were able to take it on with a lot of grace. So I give you a lot of kudos for that, because it takes a special kind of man to be able to manage that. So
I mean, it wasn't me by myself. That's for sure. I appreciate it, but I mean, I could not have done it without my wife. I couldn't have done it without my family, my in-laws. Like there have been a lot of hands that helped along the way for that trip, and my friends as well. It was a very stressful, not good time, but it worked out, and we're here.
Yeah, well said. Takes a village, you know? Hey, on a completely different note, I know you're a big D&D player, and we talked about your time playing World of Warcraft. For the D&D players that are on this show, I always like to ask them, looking at Junie right now, what sort of class let's just go with class. What sort of class do you think that she embodies?
I mean, definitely create chaotic neutral. Let's just start there.
Yeah, okay.
That, as far as as that goes,
love that.
I'm leaning towards artificer at this point. She is a huge fan of buses and trucks and airplanes. She's very smart with electronics and stuff. She's very into figuring out how things work, I think. She opened up her doll the other day, her bear, her little what do you call it, leapfrog bear, and she opened up the batteries and so like batteries are dead. She's like batteries, and so
wow,
I'm going to Artificer, I think.
Wow, that's amazing. Taking after her mom a little bit there too. I know with your wife working on airplanes and stuff, there's a good bit of that flowing through her blood. That's amazing. And as far as World of Warcraft classes, we don't have artificers in that game. What do you think that she jives with?
I mean, she does like pets, so Hunter's an easy one. We've got a couple cats, and she's all about that and loves going to the zoo.
Yeah.
We'll say Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, they deal with little traps and like mechanisms and stuff too. They're a crafty bunch. I love that. Awesome. Davis, as we close out the show, I always like to ask dads who are guests here to share a little bit of like words of wisdom. So if you were to think about a dad who might have been in a similar situation to what you had dealt with, or maybe anticipating being a new dad, or dealing with hardships similar to what you've dealt with over the past several months, like what sort of words of wisdom would you give to them to encourage them through times of challenge or trouble?
I think the biggest thing for me that's helped me just being a dad is just pausing and acknowledging that things aren't as big of a deal as you think they are. When Junie spills her milk, it's annoying. If I don't clean it all up, it's going to smell, and now I've got to pause what I'm doing to do that. But that's fine. It's just milk, It's just a little spilled milk. Just clean it up. It's going to be okay. She's learning how things work, and you just need to pause and make sure that you're reacting appropriately to what happens.
Well said. Also very, I see so much of your personality and just the chill, very calm, cool, collected person that you are, really playing through with your parenting style, with how you deal with challenge, also how you deal with us in World of Warcraft and the Filthy Casuals Gaming Guild, and all the shenanigans that we get up to. You're just one of the most reliable people that I've gotten the pleasure of knowing over the internet. And, really appreciate you taking some time to talk about this, to talk about your experience as a new dad, and just, being vulnerable in this conversation. I know it is hard for men to be able to talk about stuff in this sort of a way sometimes, and appreciate you opening those doors. So, Davis, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you again for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here and letting me talk your ear off a little bit. I appreciate it.
Thank you again to Davis for being on the show and being so vulnerable. I had a lot of trouble listening back to this episode just because of how freaking heart-wrenching his story is. But the fact of the matter is, he is a tenacious, good dude, a great dad. And my heart goes out to you and your family, Davis, and hope that we can see each other again sometime in the near future. Wishing you and little Junie and your wife and the rest of your family all the best. And if you'd like to chime in on anything that we talked about today, feel free to email the Dad Chronicle podcast at gmail.com. As a reminder, if you'd like to support anything that we do here, you can do so by heading over to supportadad.com. Even donating $1 a month to the Patreon helps to pay for the operational costs of this show. And as always, you can listen to this show and make sure that you're subscribed to your favorite podcatcher over at thedadchronicle.com. Thanks again for listening, and remember, be good to yourself, be good to others out there, and we'll see you next time.
If you like this show, check out more great content at incastmedianetwork.com.